Hey, what's going on? I'm in a very weird part of my house because my whole family's sleeping. I'm holding the laptop, but you don't need to see my face that much. We're gonna get into Gingerbread Girl, of course. She just her bladder just let go because she had a knife like pointed at her eye. Let me get rid of this so I'm not making you dizzy. So let's get right into the reading because it's going to get pretty intense here. Yeah, there we go. We're right at the top there. So remember her bladder, it's all wet around her. Stephen King tries to make things as real as possible, and I'm pretty sure when people get scared enough, or just like not fun to think about, but in war and stuff, people's bladders let go, car accidents, stuff like that. Bladders and bowels, unfortunately. Nice, he said. Another mess to clean up. Not unexpected, though. No. And like the man said, there's more room out than there is in. That's what the man said. He actually laughed. One quick yip. And then he leaned forward, his vivid blue eyes staring into her hazel ones. Tell me one person who knows you're here. Don't hesitate. Do not hesitate. If you hesitate, I'll know you're making something up and I'll lift your eye right out of its socket and flip it back into the sink. I can do it. So tell me now. Decollis, she said. It was tattling, bad tattling, but it was also nothing but reflex. She didn't want to lose an eye. Who else? Top of the next column. No name occurred to her. Her mind was a roaring blank, and she believed him when he said hesitating would cost her her left eye. No one, okay? She cried. And surely Deke would be enough. Surely one person would be enough. Unless he was so crazy that. He drew the knife away, and although her peripheral vision, one of our vocabulary words, couldn't quite pick it up, she felt a tiny seed pearl of blood blooming there. She didn't care. She was just glad to still have peripheral vision. Okay, Pickering said. Okay, good. Okay. He walked back to the sink and tossed the little knife into it. She started to be relieved. Then he opened one of the drawers beside the sink and brought out a bigger one, a long pointed butcher knife. Okay. He came back to her. There was no blood on him that she could see, not even a spot. How is that possible? How long had she been out? Been out. Okay, so just really quickly here. Why did that? It shouldn't have moved. Remember, she was passed out because of the hit to her head, which must have given this guy Pickering a long time to clean up everything. He didn't get to clean up the trail of blood leading out of the house, but he cleaned himself up, maybe took a shower even, something like that. Okay. He ran the hand, not holding the knife, through the short, stupidly expensive tailoring of his hair, sprang right back into place. Who's Deke Hollis? The drawbridge keeper, she said. Her voice was unsteady, wavering. We talked about you. That's why I stopped to look in. She had a burst of inspiration. He saw the girl, your niece, he called her. Yeah. Top of the next column. The girls always go back by boat. That's all he knows. That's all he knows in the world. Are people ever nosy? Where's your car? Answer me now, or you get the new special breast amputation. Quick, but not painless. The grass shack. It was all she could think of to say. What's that? The little conch house at the end of the key. It's my dad's. She had another burst of inspiration. He knows I'm here. Yeah. This didn't seem to interest Pickering. Yeah, okay, right, big time. You saying you live here? Yes. He looked down at her shorts, now a darker blue. Runner, are you? She didn't answer this, but Pickering didn't seem to care. Yeah, you're a runner. Damn right you are. Look at those legs. Incredibly, he bowed at the waist as if meeting royalty, and with a loud smack, kissed her left thigh just below the hem of her shorts. When he straightened up, she observed, with a sinking heart, that the front of his pants. We don't have to read that. You can read that there. Not good. You run up, you run back. He flicked the blade of the butcher knife in an arc, like a conductor with a baton. It was hypnotic. Outside, the rain continued to pour. It would go on that way for 40 minutes, maybe an hour, and then the sun would come back out. Em wondered if she'd be alive to see it. She didn't think so. Yet, this was still hard to believe, impossibly, really. Impossible, really. If I could, if you could, this is a weird angle here, but hmm. uh, one thing that I love about reading about Stephen King is that I hope I never experience something like this, being tied up to a chair with some maniac and a knife. But he, in my opinion, he makes it seem so real because, like, I'm pretty sure people in that position are probably thinking, "How could this happen?" She said it a couple times. This happened so quickly. So, and I know, because I've talked to you, some of you in here love watching those, like, those murder shows. It's like because a part of our mind, most people's minds, likes to go there just to see what would happen to us, pushing the limits of what we're capable of and like how would we react? Hopefully none of us. I'm 46 years old. I've never had anything close to this, never. So hopefully you won't either, but it's interesting to find out like, okay, how would I react if I was in this position? And I think that's the great thing about reading and movies is that you can experience things that you don't want to experience in real life, but you can kind of live through them. We call it like vicariously. Vicariously. Sometimes you're living a life that you don't actually have to live. So another thing you'll hear with vicariously is that some sports parents are so like crazy into their own kid sports because maybe they didn't play sports as a kid and they're like, oh, so you might hear they're living vicariously through their kids. It can be unhealthy at times. Anybody playing sports, I'm sure you've seen this where like the dad is just way too into whatever sport it is, maybe baseball. I don't know. All right, back to the book. I see it some with hockey and my son. Not so much these days, but when he was younger. All right, back to this. Where were we? You run up, you run back. There is a racial slur that I am not going to read here, but it is the way probably some jerk like Pickering would talk. You run up, you run back. Yeah, I think that's where we're at. You run up and back. Sometimes you pass the time of day with that old man in the straw hat, but you don't pass it with anyone else. She was scared, but not too scared to realize he wasn't talking to her. Right, not anyone else, because there's nobody else here. All right, he's just talking about like the people that we heard about the yard, like the people that do lawn care. I think she mentioned them before. I don't think she ever talked to them, but she did mention that there were people doing lawns here. The knife blade ticked back and forth. He eyed the tip, seeming to depend on it for an answer. No, he said, no. And I'll tell you why. Because you're just another rich, I don't know what that word is. It might be a bad word, so I'm not going to say it. Running our buns off. They're everywhere. You see them every day. Health nuts have to kick them out of your way. If not running on bikes, wearing those dumb little potty helmets. Okay. Okay. Say your prayers, Lady Jane, but make it quick. I'm in a hurry. Big, big hurry. So it seems like he's going to kill her here. He raised the knife to his shoulder. She saw his lips tighten down in anticipation of the killing stroke. For M, the whole world suddenly came clear. Everything stood out with exclamatory brilliance. She thought, I'm coming, Amy. And then absurdly, something she might have heard on ESPN, be there, baby. But then he paused. He looked around, exactly as if someone had spoken. Yeah, he said. Then, yeah. And then, yeah. There was a formica topped island in the middle of the room for food preparation. Formica is it's just like tile or it's like cheap plastic, I think, formica. What a lot of kitchens have like on top of the counters. He dropped the knife on it with a clatter instead of sticking it into Amy. Top of this right here. He said, sit there. I'm not going to kill you. I changed my mind. A man can change my mind. You can read this here yourself. It's not, but he's going to do something else, I think, when he comes back there. Whoops. There was a depleted roll of duct tape on the island. He picked it up. A moment later, he was kneeling in front of her, the back of his head and the naked nape of his neck exposed and vulnerable. In a better world, a fairer world, she could have laced her hands together and brought them down on that exposed nape. But her hands were bound at the wrist to the chair's heavy maple arms. Her torso was bound to the back by more duct tape, thick corsets of the stuff. Corsets, that is what women wore long, long time ago to make their waists appear smaller. You've probably seen those things. Of the stuff at the waist, just below the breasts. Her legs were bound to the chair legs at the knees, the upper calves, the lower calves, and the ankles. He had been very thorough. So lots of tape, very hard to get out of. The legs of the chair were taped to the floor, and now he put on fresh layers, first in front of her, then behind. When he was finished, all the tape was gone. He stood up, put the empty cardboard core on the Formica Island. There, he said. Not bad. Okay, all set. You wait here. He must have found something funny in this because he cocked his head upward and loosed another of those brief yapping laughs. Don't get bored and run off, okay? I need to take care of your nosy old friend, and I want to do it while it's still raining. This time he flashed to a door that proved to be a closet. He yanked out a yellow slicker, so another name for a raincoat. Knew this was in here somewhere. Everybody trusts a guy in a raincoat. I don't know why. It's just one of those mystery facts. Okay, girlfriend, sit tight. He uttered another one of those laughs that sounded like the bark of an angry poodle, and then he was gone. All right, so I think that's true though. If you think about it, if it was really raining out and somebody was approaching you in the rain in a raincoat, I think you'd be kind of trusting of them. Like they would have to be like serious about something if they were out in rain. It's often we see like police officers or emergency workers out in the rain. So in a way, they kind of already have like an authority if they're out. I don't know. It just made sense when I read that. It's like, yeah, I would probably trust a person in a raincoat. All right, back to I think the page jumped around here. Yeah, still 9:15. It's too bad. There is a clock in the kitchen that is broken. The time doesn't move. So maybe a little metaphor there, like she's stuck in time right here. When the front door slammed and M knew he had really left, that abnormal brightness in the world started to turn gray, and she realized she was on the verge of fainting. She could not afford to faint. If there was an afterlife and she eventually saw her father there, how could she explain to Rusty Jackson that she had wasted her last minutes on earth in unconsciousness? He would be disappointed in her. Even if they met in heaven, standing ankle deep in clouds while angels all around them played the music of the spheres, arranged for harp, he would be disappointed in her for wasting her only chance in a Victorian swoon. M deliberately ground the lacerated lining of her lower lip against her teeth, then bit down, bringing fresh blood. The world jumped back to brightness. The sound of the wind and down rushing rain swelled like strange music. All right, one thing I do want to focus on is that M does seem, I wouldn't say controlled. I don't know what the right verb is. Dependent. How about that? She does seem dependent so far on the men in her life, right? She was dependent on Henry for like money. She was dependent on her father for this house. And even like when she's thinking about her death, like she doesn't want to disappoint her father. So over the next couple pages, this might be like an awakening or a rebirth for M that she can do, like she's powerful. She can do something on her own. Not to spoil too much, but Stephen King has been setting this up for us. And it just so happens that Deke, our bad guy, not Deke, sorry. Deke's a very nice guy, it seems like. Pickering, our bad guy, has given M a little bit of time to plot, like to try to get out of there. And she's about to pass out. So she like bites down on her lip. No, not going to happen. Not today. All right. Back to this. Just a couple more minutes here. How long did she have? It's a quarter of a mile from the pillbox to the drawbridge. Because of the slicker and because she hadn't heard the Mercedes start up, she had to think he was running. She knew she might not have heard the engine start over the rain and thunder, but she just didn't believe that he would take his car. Deke would know the red Mercedes, and he didn't like the man who drove it. The red Mercedes might put Deke on guard. Emily believed Pickering would know that. Pickering was crazy. Part of the time he had been talking to himself, but at least some of the time he had been talking to someone he could see, but she couldn't, an invisible partner in crime. But he wasn't stupid. Neither was Deke, of course. But he would be alone in his little gatehouse. No passing cars, no boats waiting to go through either. Not in this downpour. Plus, he was old. I have maybe 15 minutes. All right, that is probably a good place for us to stop. Hopefully, you are liking this book. We'll read some more tomorrow. I will get out of here. Look, you can see my books up there, though. I do have Stephen King. I got a lot of Stephen King books. Probably won't be able to see it, but yeah, big Stephen King fan. So hope you are too. All right, and if not, I mean, we're kind of almost done this short story, so won't have to worry about it too much longer.